Jury deliberations start tomorrow in the sex trafficking trial of rapper Sean Diddy Combs. Both sides made their closing arguments last week. The prosecution says that after 20 years, it's time to hold Combs accountable, arguing that he ran a criminal enterprise. One of their key witnesses, Combs' ex-girlfriend, Cassie Ventura, testified that she endured years of alleged physical and emotional abuse. But the defense painted Combs' relationship with Ventura as, quote, a great modern love story. Combs faces 5 federal charges, including sex trafficking and racketeering, which could result in life in prison. The trial focuses on allegations from Ventura and another ex-girlfriend. Both accuse him of coercing them into sexual acts with male escorts. CB Cotton joins us for the latest. CB.
Yeah, Madison, well, if you can believe it, tomorrow will mark 2 months since Diddy's federal sex trafficking trial first began, and we've reached another crucial point. Tomorrow morning, the judge will instruct the jury on the law before deliberations can begin, and then jurors will have to decide which version of the story they're buying. Prosecutors got the final word on Friday afternoon with their rebuttal to closing arguments from the defense. Lead prosecutor Maureen Comey saying in part, quote, for 20 years, the defendant got away with his crimes. That ends in this courtroom. Overwhelming evidence proves his guilt. It is time to hold him accountable. The government has used witness testimony, bank statements, phone records, explicit text and videos, and injury photos to argue Diddy ran a criminal enterprise, fueling and concealing sex crimes. This gash above the eye of Diddy's ex-girlfriend, Cassie Ventura, among the evidence prosecutors say proves Diddy is guilty of all charges, which, as you mentioned, includes sex trafficking and racketeering conspiracy. A guilty verdict on either of those counts could put Diddy behind bars for life. But during defense closing arguments, Diddy's attorney repeatedly called this a false trial, an exaggerated trial, saying all the sexual encounters were consensual. And at times, the lead defense attorney, Mark Agnifilo, even appeared to mock the government's evidence photos of baby oil and guns as weak. And he repeatedly accused prosecutors of criminalizing Diddy's swinger sex life. And he also said had Diddy been charged with domestic violence, he would have pled guilty, but he said his client is not guilty on these charges.
So, CB, I'm so glad, you brought up the jury because now it's in their hands. So let's talk about the jury. Tell me about the breakdown. And then also, and we've discussed this, I've had to avoid reading some of your emails because the evidence is so graphic. So have you gotten any insight into how they've reacted when they see some of this evidence?
Yeah, so it's an interesting jury breakdown. There's 8 men, 4 women. It's a pretty racially diverse jury as well. And by the time I got in the courtroom, I think it was a couple weeks ago that I finally got inside the main courtroom. There's a lot of interest in this case, so you have to work diligently to try to get inside. By the time I was inside, I really saw muted reactions from the jurors. I think at this point, they've gotten accustomed to the explicit content in the trial. But initially, when things first got underway, there were some initial reports that said with some of the explicit screenshots and some of the explicit text, a couple of the women on the jury would wince at some of the evidence that they had seen. I will say, when I was inside for one day, there was an explicit video that was shown. We can't see this content in the courtroom gallery. It's under seal, right? But I did watch as one man on the jury. After he watched a clip, he quickly pulled off his headphones and he covered his mouth. So whatever you make of that reaction, I do think at this point, though, they've gotten accustomed to some of the explicit content, though.
Let's keep going with this. The general mood in the courtroom now that you're in there, we're from the outside looking in and even limited view to that extent in there. Also, Diddy's known for his pressure tactics, as it's been alleged in the case. It was there before that, just the way he operated within the industry.
There's some definitely interesting points that you bring up with that. He's got an air of charisma, right? That's how he ascended to the top of his game in the music industry. So at the start of the trial, the judge actually admonished Diddy pretty strongly because he was captured engaging somewhat with jurors. One day it was reported that he shivered and he said, he mouthed, it's cold in here. And there was another report that he was eyeing jurors after certain testimony. And the judge scolded his defense attorneys and told them, don't let that happen again. And after that, nothing else came out about Diddy trying to engage with the jury. But there was another moment that I thought was interesting this past week. Before closing arguments, Diddy complimented the judge. And when he said that he wouldn't be testifying in his own defense, he also said, I want to let you know you've been doing a great job, to the judge. And the judge had a small laugh and said, I appreciate that, thank you. And he quickly moved on. So I think there have been moments where you might say Diddy has tried to interject some of that charisma.
I want to focus on racketeering because it's one of the most serious charges that he's going to face. And look, I think we can all stipulate, almost everybody in America, in the world can stipulate, Diddy is a really, really bad dude who's into really, really bad things. He is a sick individual according to what the rest of us view as normal behavior. But how did the prosecution establish the elements needed for racketeering based off of that salacious and horrific evidence that they presented?
So you bring up a really crucial charge, racketeering conspiracy. I think it's not only the most serious charge, it's the most complex charge in this case. And so that's why you watch the prosecutor who delivered closing arguments take a great deal of time to explain it. So she told jurors, in order to convict Diddy of racketeering conspiracy, you have to find that both he and his inner circle, members who, his chief of staff and other former employees, committed 2 racketeering acts. They can be the same 2 racketeering acts. You just have to find that they committed them. And they allege the racketeering acts in this case are kidnapping, arson, bribery, forced labor, witness tampering, sex trafficking, and transportation to engage in prostitution. And so, they argue that the copious amounts of evidence they've presented, whether it be witness testimony, salacious text, and videos, they argue that it proves Diddy created this sex crime ring to force and coerce women into drug-fueled sex parties called freak-offs. And, some legal experts feel that, prosecutors have sufficiently laid out this case. But, Todd, you're an attorney yourself. Some legal experts feel that prosecutors overcharged. We'll have to see. It lies with jurors.
Real quick one. You just used the word salacious. You used the word explicit. A lot of evidence in this case. How does the defense push back against it?
Great question. So the defense argues that all the sexual encounters were consensual, and they say that these women could have left at any point. They didn't have to engage in this type of behavior.
Well, CB, thank you so much for breaking it down, and we'll be watching tomorrow. Appreciate it.
Thanks.
Meanwhile,
hey, Sean Hannity here. Hey, click here to subscribe to Fox News YouTube page and catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis. You will not get it anywhere else.